All right, folks, welcome back. It's time for our next 223 video, and the bullet we're going to look at today is the 75 grain Speer Gold Dot. We've already tested the 62 grain Gold Dot in 223, and it was a great shooting bullet. I've also tested 6.5 millimeter versions of these in 6.5 Creedmoor and 6.5 Grendel, and we shot a few of the 165 grain 30 cal version in 300 Winchester Magnum. They've all been shooting really well. Now, it's not just the accuracy that's making me love these bullets so far, it's the way they expand. We've shot quite a few of them into Ballistic Gel, and this is what they come out looking like. Awesome expansion, pretty much 100% weight retention, just really, really impressive performance. So I've got high hopes for today's 75 grain version in 223. Now, bonded bullets that shoot really well, you would expect them to be extremely expensive, but they're not. These 75 grainers are about 19 or 20 cents a piece. The only comparable bullet that I know of is the 75 grain Swift Sirocco 2, and those guys are 50 cents a piece. So there's a huge lack of heavy expanding bullets in 22 caliber. So I'm really happy these have hit the market. The design's pretty wild. They've got this kind of rebated boat tail, and they're a soft point. The length on them is great. They easily fit in an AR-15 magazine, and Speer's load data actually shoots them at 2.260, which is our AR magazine length. Speaking of that, Speer has load data, and they've not only got 223 load data, they've also got 5.56 load data. One curious thing is on the 223 side, they shoot 2.230 inches of overall length, and then shoot 2.260 on the 5.56 side. That's a little bit weird, but we're gonna stick to 2.260 today for all of our testing. The powders I want to test with are Alliant Power Pro 2000 MR. You might be sick of seeing this powder, like I'm using it a whole lot lately. And the reason is it just gets more velocity than any other powder. Heavy bullets in 223, I don't know of any other powder that can get us the numbers that 2000 MR can get. And a bullet like this, where we're wanting to kick some butt, we're wanting good expansion, we're wanting the most energy downrange we can get, it's hard to pass up on 2000 MR. Now, it's a spherical powder, probably not the most temperature stable powder out there. The accuracy is pretty good sometimes, but a lot of times it's kind of mediocre. So it falls short in other areas, but the velocity is just incredible. So we're going to shoot 2000 MR. We're going to use the load data from the 5.56 data, and they show a max charge of 27.1 grains. The second powder I want to test with is Alliant Reloder 15. Now this guy I want to shoot from the 223 data sheet, which is a max charge of 23.6 grains. Over on the 5.56 sheet, they go up to 24.8. But we're just gonna stick to the 223 data. So 23.6 will be our max charge there. The brass we're gonna be using is Lake City, the same batch of Lake City brass that we've been using for the last 6 months or so. I've got a couple hundred pieces that we just kind of rotate through. I think we're at 4 or 5 firings, something like that. It's still in real good shape. The primer is gonna be the CCI number 41. Generally does a nice job for us. And I think that's pretty much it. We're going to be on the range almost immediately here today because I've already got these completely prepped and I've actually weighed out our powder charges. So we're ready for bullet seating. So let's just get to it. So I already loaded up a couple of these a little bit ago that I'm going to use to shoot into the Ballistic Gel. And that was with our max charge of Power Pro 2000 MR, which is a compressed charge. So I backed out our adjustment here with the Hornady Micro Just seating stem thingy. So we need to dial it back in. Now the 2.260 inch overall length ends up being a 1.9 inch cartridge-based ogive number when we measure it with the Hornady bullet comparator. So right now this guy is measuring 1.915. So let's go ahead and come down 15. Okay, see what that gets us. Pretty close, 1.899. Maybe if we wiggle it a little bit, we can get a 1.900. Close enough. And the overall length on this guy is 2.257, so 3 thousandths or 2.5 thousandths short of our 2.260 target. These bullets are soft points, but they're reasonably consistent. Generally get overall length numbers within just, 2, 3, 4 thousandths of one another. So that's what she looks like. Looking like a butt kicker to me. All right, here's the next guy. 1.9 inch cartridge-based ogive, 2.253 overall length. So it looks like I might have been able to go a couple thousandths longer, but that nice 1.900 inch cartridge-based ogive number is a whole lot easier to remember. So it's close enough for me. Next guy here is 1.899. So that's really it, folks. These are easy seating bullets. They've been easy to work with across all the different calibers we've tried. Haven't had any problems whatsoever. So let's call this good enough and go ahead and get out to the range. All right, folks, it is time to get started. Our gun here has got an 18-inch White Oak Armament SPR barrel, and it's a good shooting gun. We've come to expect 0.5 to 0.7 inch groups out of it whenever we land on a good bullet and powder combination. So that's what we'll be hoping for today. I am shooting through my Silencer Co. Omega suppressor. Got a magnetospeed chronograph on there. The scope is a 4 to 24 power Vortex Strike Eagle. I did a video on this guy recently. I really like this scope. The trigger in this guy is a LaRue MBT, and we're shooting off a front rest today. I can't remember the last time I shot this guy off a rest. I normally shoot it off of a bipod, but I was shooting the 300 Win Mag with the rest, and I decided to just go ahead and shoot this guy with it as well. We're starting out with Power Pro 2000 MR. Our first charge weight is 25.9 grains. The targets are at 100 yards. The dots are 1 inch in diameter. Let's see how they do. All right, that looks like a pretty good start. Velocity's pretty low at 2609. I thought we'd be starting out a little bit higher than that. I'm hoping we get in that 2750 to 2800 range like we do with the Sierra Match King, the 77 grain Sierra Match King. We've hit 2800 feet per second with this powder and that bullet. So we'll see where we get, I guess. So the brass looks great from that group, but I would expect no less at 2600 feet per second. We shouldn't have to worry about that. Well, to be honest, we shouldn't have to worry about that at all with 2000 MR, but I'll keep my eye on things. All right, next up, 26.2 grains. Well, those last couple dropping low was weird. Pretty big jump in velocity there, 70 feet per second. All right, 26.5. I can't believe how quickly this velocity came up since we're shooting 0.3 of a grain increments. We're on track to hit 2800 feet per second. So next up, 26.8 grains. All right, so our brass is still looking good. We're rattling off some decent groups down there. I freaking love these bullets, man. All right, last up here, 27.1 grains. Let's see if we hit 2800. Yeah, it looks like we kind of hit a velocity plateau there, right? We only went up to 2759. So that actually might be a good thing. Maybe like 27.0 grains would be a good load that kind of sits in a spot where velocity's not changing a bunch. I don't know. We'll need to test some more. Pretty good showing by 2000 MR. Now, those stator deviation numbers are awful. They always are. Like 2000 MR rarely shoots good, tight velocity numbers. It's just, it is what it is. But it gets them going fast and it generally shoots okay. So I'm gonna take a little break. It's pretty cold today. I think it's about 35 degrees out here. The barrel's not terribly warm, but my eyes need a little bit of a rest. All right, folks, time to switch over to Reloader 15. Now, we're going to be a little bit lower on velocity here, I expect, but hopefully the standard deviation numbers are going to tighten up, and maybe the groups are going to tighten up. There's only one way to find out. Let's shoot them. We're starting at 22.4 grains. Ew, what in the heck? That felt like a good shot. All right, I did not see that coming. Velocity 23.27. That's extremely slow. Maybe that's what's going on. Hopefully things will tighten as we go along. Let's find out. Okay, it's trying to start grouping. 4 out of 5 is a good start, I guess. So next is 23.0 grains. Okay, next is 23.3. All right, things are slowly getting better, it seems like. Those last couple groups have been halfway decent. All right, one more group to go here. 23.6 grains. All right, so that's a pretty crappy finish to this little range trip. I'll tell you what, now let's set up the ballistic gel and see if we can capture some of these guys, see how they're going to expand. All right, folks, so I loaded up 5 of these, so we've got plenty of opportunities here to capture some in the gel. My gel is badly in need of being melted down and cleaned up, but hopefully it'll be good enough. Here we go. Okay, velocity on that one was 27.28. Let's see if it's in here somewhere. I'm pretty sure it is. There's a dark spot just into the second block, but I'm not 100% sure. Let's go ahead and just shoot some more in there. All right, so this is the second block. The bullets were coming this way. We've got a whole group of them right in this area. And that's been, these are 16-inch blocks, so that's, I don't know, 20 inches or so. And that's where all of these have been landing, all the way from the Grendel to the 62 grain 223, all the way up to 300 Winchester Magnum with the 168 grainer. The first half of the second block is about how much they penetrate in this synthetic gel from Clear Ballistics. All right, let's get back to the bench. So I was able to recover all 5 shots from the gel, and it was like I said while we were out there, they were all in that 1 to 4 inches into the second block range, and these guys really expanded nicely. Let's look a little closer at a couple of them. You can see how that lead being bonded to the jacket keeps that lead stuck all the way out to the end of the expanded petals. It's really pretty cool stuff. This one's pretty gnarly looking here on the back side. All of the ones we've tested have expanded into this distinct, 5 petal sort of expansion shape. Like, let me show you one of the 62 grainers that we had fired. Very similar sort of thing. Yep, there's that 62 grainer. But these 75s did pretty good as well. If anything, they expanded a little bit more aggressively than the 62. This 62, we fired it at about 3,100 feet per second, so we had these moving pretty quick. And the velocity on these was between 2728 was the slowest and 2800 exactly was the fastest. But this is what I really like to see out of my hunting bullets. We'll weigh these guys here in just one second, but I'll show you some other examples. This was a 140 grain 6.5 millimeter version that we shot in 6.5 Creedmoor. See, similar thing, peels back into the 5 petals. There's very little separation of the lead from the jacket. Really good stuff. This is the worst we've seen out of this line of bullets. And this was with 6.5 Grendel. The velocities were pretty low. I'm going to test this same bullet in the Creedmoor with a little bit more velocity later, but maybe this gives us an idea of what sort of performance we would get, you know, out at range after we've lost a couple hundred feet per second. Still pretty darn good. All right, let's weigh these guys. All right, here's the first one, 62.5, so it lost 12.5 grains. There's a 62.6, a 70.7, a 67.7, and a 62.3. Now, if we go back to the 62 grain version that we shot previously, there's one that's 59.3. Here's one that's 59.1. One thing about these is I got a little bit of gel stuck in some of these, but the ones from today, I actually put them in some hot water and melted it out. So yeah, these might be a little bit lighter than the scale just said, but still across the board, like, I'm very happy with this sort of weight retention. I guess they shed between 5 and 15 grains, and to accomplish that while at the same time getting such aggressive expansion is pretty impressive if you ask me. All right, so here's a look at our fired brass. It all looks fantastic. I have nothing at all to show you. Here's the max charge with Power Pro 2000 MR, looking really good. And the same deal here with Reloder 15. No visible signs of pressure here today. Okay, let's have a closer look at these groups, and we'll start on the top with 2000 MR. This was good stuff, with the exception of those 2 shots on the second group that dropped low. I mean, all of the rest, 23 shots, probably went into about 1.25 inch group. So very happy with the accuracy. The best group was the 4th one, 0.674, and there's really nothing to complain about here. The velocity was great, the standard deviations were crappy, but at least in my case here, you know, in my gun, with that extremely stable point of impact all the way across, does it really matter if maybe the powder's temperature sensitive and there's a 50 or 75 feet per second swing from summer to winter? It all hits at the same spot. Now, if you're trying to pick off coyotes at 600 or 700 yards or something like that, sure, it might matter. But if most of your shooting's, 100 to 300 yards or something, I think this would do a fine job. So now let's move down to Reloder 15. And I don't know what the hell's going on here. The middle 3 groups, those were tighter than I thought they were. I guess they just look bigger, since they're away from the bullseye, and the dots just, make the groups seem a little bit tighter when you're close. But those 3 were under 1 inch. The first group and the last group, especially that last shot that went like 2 minutes high, I have no explanation. These velocities were even lower than I thought they would be. We really probably should have gone with the 5.56 data, because really this was just a waste of 25 bullets, right? The velocities weren't high enough to be interesting. The groups weren't good enough to be enticing. And even our standard deviations were crap. I've started to wonder whether my can of Reloder 15 might be going bad or something. I think I've had this 5-pounder open for probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 years. It still smells good. Like, it doesn't have any funny smell or anything like that. But our last couple outings with Reloder 15 have just been disappointing. And I know Reloder 15 is a good powder. I should be having better luck, but we're just not. So I think that is pretty much it, folks. You're going to see more of this bullet. I bought 2 boxes of them. I had such high confidence that they were going to be good shooters that I went ahead and bought 2 boxes. We've only shot 55 of them, so we got 145 more to play with. We're going to try some different powders. We're going to try and tighten up those groups. We've got a lot of preliminary data to work from with these 75s, because I've got a whole series of videos where we shoot the 77 grain Sierra Match King. So I feel like we've got a good handle on which powders give us the best performance. So I've already got several other ideas about powders I want to test with these guys. Maybe we can get close to the velocities we got with Power Pro 2000 MR, but maybe in something that will give us a little bit better standard deviation numbers and perhaps be a little less temperature sensitive. We're allowed to deer hunt with 22 caliber here in Kentucky. And I gotta say, I would absolutely deer hunt with these. I think they'd get the job done great, especially with, you know, good shot placement and all that stuff. A couple of my nephews have actually killed deer with the 65 grain Sierra Game King. So 223 might not be the ideal cartridge for the job, but you pair it up with a good capable bullet, and these certainly belong in that category. It can get the job done. So there's one more 22 caliber offering. I've tried the 62 and the 75. There's also a 55 grainer. I'm not going to be shooting that guy, but those of you who maybe have slower twist barrels or something, or just prefer a 55 grain weight, they're out there, and I've got high confidence that, you know, they would be good shooters as well. So that's where we'll leave this one, folks. Appreciate you joining me. I'll see you next time.